Hello and welcome to the Advanced Half-Distance Training Program from Scientific Triathlon. I want to thank you for putting your trust in this training plan. I'm the author of it, Coach Michael Eriksson from Scientific Triathlon. In this video, we'll go through some general principles and tips and advice for how to get the most out of this training plan and stand on the starting line of your goal race at your best possible fitness and performance readiness levels. So let's cover some principles of training first. These won't necessarily be new to you. They are pretty standard and simple, but they are still very, very important to have front of mind at all times, and because they will help guide your decision making at points during the plan when you will need to take decisions, because you will undoubtedly have to do that at some point. So the first principle is consistency, and that simply means doing good, solid training day in, day out, week in, week out, not necessarily focusing too much on doing epic training on certain days, but at the expense of being consistent and doing something every day or almost every day, and having really solid weeks, week in, week out. We also don't want to have weeks that are like super low volume or low quality, like going down to from whatever your regular volume be to doing a third of that the next week. That's just not effective. Like, it's better to distribute things a bit more evenly, both in terms of the day-to-day training, but also in terms of the week-to-week training. So consistency is the number one factor of becoming a better endurance athlete. Simple as that. And anything that you do that negatively impacts consistency is something that you should avoid doing. So decisions should always be examined from the lens of, will this help my consistency, or will it impair my consistency? And I guess as a corollary to that, or related to that, individual workouts matter way less than we think they do. Even the hard workouts and challenging workouts, solid work over weeks and months matters a lot more than we give them credit for. And that is why it's so easy to skip an easy run, because who cares about a 35-minute run? That's not going to be very useful for me, right? And no, that run is not going to be very useful for you. But if you do this run, if you do this run more than what you would normally do, and you do that every week for 2 or 3 months, then that's a lot of extra running. And then yes, it is suddenly very beneficial, much more beneficial probably than one single very hard run that you might think, oh, this was a key run and this was great for me. So individual workouts matter less than we think. Solid work or periods of time matter more. And I guess one related thing to that is that in terms of the hard workouts, you do absolutely need to do hard workouts on a regular basis. But what you don't need to do is to do epic workouts. You don't need to go to the well every single week or several times per week. You can do workouts that are hard but sustainable. And this applies for all sorts of workouts, including, as an example of this, let's take this bike workout here in week 4, 6 times 3 minutes at 105 to 110% of FTP. I've seen many plans where this type of workout is prescribed, but it's prescribed at 120% of FTP. And that, first of all, it really flies in the face of the fact that many triathletes are strong aerobically but weak anaerobically, and 120% is just way too hard for them to do VO2 max work. You're probably more like 110% is probably right for most triathletes, or even 105%. 150% would already be very hard, but that could be doable. But that being said, even if 150% is something I think is doable for a lot of us, it's too hard in terms of being able to do this week in, week out, and combine it with hard swimming and hard running as well. So if you do like a good solid workout where you are maybe at 110% and you do 6 times 3 minutes and it felt hard, but you managed to get through it, you had 1 or 2 reps left in the tank after the workout, then that's all you could ask for. You don't need to go absolutely to the well and be absolutely gasping for air and killing yourself with the taste of lactate just flooding you. That's not necessary to do in all workouts. This is not an excuse to be lazy, of course. Again, you do need to work hard, but you don't need it to be epic to be beneficial. And in fact, epic can be counterproductive. And finally, this is an important point, a really important one that I think a lot of us don't do very well, and it is to follow the intent of the workout and understand the intent of the workout. So let's look at a simple endurance ride, for example. All of the workouts in this plan will have a, in my opinion, nice written description here that explains what it's about, what the objective of the ride is, and so, or the workout is, and a little bit about how it should feel, how you should execute it, and so on. So this is described as an endurance ride in zone 2, and keep in mind here we're using a 5 or 6 zone system, so this is zone 2 as in a low intensity training zone, but not super low, not recovery, an endurance zone. You should feel free to do this ride on rolling or undulating terrain if you have that kind of terrain around you, but stay in the prescribed zone, and I guess you could add as much as possible, because it really doesn't matter if you have a few bouts in above zone 2 or coasting, going downhill. That's obviously not the point. But trying to maximize time in zone 2 is the point of that. This ride should be, and that is what you, by the way, that is one of the things that you need to kind of read into when you understand the intent of the workout. You read into these things and you try to work out, okay, what is the intent of the ride? This ride should be controlled and fairly comfortable, but you shouldn't just be lollygagging. If training for non-draft races, ideally do this ride as far as possible in the TT position. So this is a lot about how it should feel and how you should execute it. So it really gives you a simple but clear description of how the workout should go. Session RPE for this ride should be a 4 out of 10. So it shouldn't feel very hard. It should feel less than moderate, really. So, but not a spin, not a recovery ride. So that tells you all you need to know. You don't need to look at what are the power numbers, even though it will say for you here when you have your threshold filled in. You will get a range here. It might be 180 to 220 watts or whatever it is. You will get that range, but you don't need it, because you can do any workout based on the description here. And the description is what really will tell you what the intent of the workout is. And you need to understand that intent, and you need to make sure that you get out of the workout what the intent is. So for example, let's go back to that the bike interval ride. If you are somebody who happens to be very strong with the kind of VO2 max work or supra threshold work, you might be a bit stronger anaerobically, and you can do these intervals at 110%, and it feels really super easy, and you can get to 6 times 3, and you feel that, well, I could have done not just 1 or 2 more, I could have done 6 more or 8 more or 10 more, like this was just too easy for me. Then okay, that fair enough. Then for you, that description is clearly too light, because we also say here that session RPE for the workout should be 8 to 9 out of 10. If it was less than 8 out of 10, take that as a sign to increase power next time you do this workout. So then next week, you are doing 6 times 3.5 minutes. So then do adjust the power. And you can even adjust the power if you know this in advance, and you feel already after the first interval that, okay, I'm not going to be very tired from this workout. I'm going to adjust the power upwards a bit to make it work better for me and my physiology. Then, like, by reading all of these descriptions, you will understand how to take these decisions on the fly, and it will make the plan better for you. Because the point of a workout like this isn't to be working in a specific power range. It is to be working at a specific relative intensity level. And the thing is that we are also different. That maybe I could have written 105 to 130%, because somebody will be more like 105 is the optimal for them, and somebody else will be 130% of FTP is optimal for them. It is just so difficult. Like you can't individualize a generic plan. What I can do is to write the description and write out the intent of the workout, and then you, as the user of the plan, can read that and understand the intent and adjust anything in the plan to match that intended purpose. All right, so that is super important. Let's move on to discussing some keys to executing this plan. And the first one is, I like to say that when you're following a training plan, you are the CEO of your athletic progress. You are the one responsible for making decisions and ultimately responsible for, well, what fitness and performance readiness do you bring to the start line. But the plan this is not a cop-out for the plan not being responsible, or there's no need to even have a plan. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. The plan is meant to be an extremely useful resource, and you should be able to follow the plan very closely. But the point is that you are still the CEO, so you should not follow the plan without thinking and feeling, because anything you as a CEO sign off of you are still responsible, even if it's somebody on your team that made that research project or came up with that product or whatever it is, made that case with a client. If you're signing off of it, you're signing off of it, and you're responsible for it. So the same goes here with a training plan. You need to think and feel your way through the plan, and not be afraid to make changes when you feel it is necessary, even though your goal is to quite closely follow the plan, or very closely follow the plan for most of it. But do that, and do changes without feeling guilty, without feeling that it's a failure, because it's not. You're expected to have to make some changes in the plan, and you're either a very, very lucky person, or like it's a very sort of unlikely chance that you might manage to go through the plan 100% as prescribed, or maybe you didn't think and feel enough, and you should have made some changes along the way, but you didn't. So take that as a key mindset, that you are the CEO. The plan is somebody is a very useful resource on your team, an advisory board member perhaps, but you need to adjust to so that you ultimately get to the start line at your best possible fitness. That being said, do hold yourself accountable to the plan. So a good success criteria for most people, I would say, is to you should reach a 90% compliance for the plan. So basically doing 90% of the workouts as prescribed. And again, here we're talking about the intent of the workout as prescribed. So that should be a success criteria for pretty much anybody. And within that, there's still a lot of wiggle room, like the 10% workouts that you might be adjusting because you're feeling that, oh, okay, today I'm a bit too tired, I'm going to skip this workout, or I'm going to make it easier. Or actually, like, I have a week off and I have some time to do some extra training. I'm actually going to add a little bit more here this particular week, but doing it sensibly. Those sorts of changes you can make, but usually they will be within that 10%, and the 90% will be according to the plan. There is one exception, a user group of this plan that you might call power users, that treat this plan as a bit of a learning experience and getting some tips for workouts and progression structures and block structures and so on, and then might just pick and choose bits and pieces that they take to their own planning of their own training. And that is absolutely fine. It's a fantastic learning opportunity, and I applaud that sort of use of a training plan to just take it as inspiration and a learning experience, almost like reading a training plan can be like reading a book. You learn a lot about how other coaches think and plan and so on. So, but I just want to caution that most users are not like this group of power users, even though this is an advanced plan, admittedly. But most users would probably benefit more from sticking relatively rigidly, so within that 90% compliance criterion, to the plan, and only the very few people that are really, really good at sort of the whole self-coaching and just knowing coaching and training principles very, very well. For them, it might be a good plan to pick and choose and ultimately design their own training program from many, many moving parts. But again, that's not the majority. Chances are that you are somebody who should follow the plan pretty much as it is written and hold yourself accountable to it. One thing I want to talk about is the adjustable durations that you've probably seen already in the titles here. You can see in the bracket of this workout. So this workout is meant to be between 1 hour and 30 minutes to 2 hours long. The nominal duration here is set to 1 hour 45 minutes. And then when you have an adjustable duration range in the title, you will always see some comments here in the pre-activity comments about how you should adjust the workout, because in some workouts it might not just be shortening it might be what should you remove, what should you add, and so on. So these adjustable durations are designed to help you match the plan to your requirements and your level. So if you are somebody coming from a lower volume background, then maybe the volume of this plan might be a bit too high for you. It averages around about 13 something hours. I should have checked this beforehand. No, sorry, 14 something hours. 14:20, 14:30 might be. Well, you probably know this because I think the Training Peaks checkout page tells you what the weekly duration on average is. But either way, that is actually a range. So depending on if you do all of the short workouts, or the adjustable duration workouts at their shortest possible option, then you will actually be 2.5 hours lower than the average for the plan. And vice versa, if you do all of the workouts as their higher option, then you will be 2.5 hours higher than the average duration for the plan. So it gives you a wide range to play with. If you're coming from a low volume background, you should probably choose to be a bit more on the lower volume side and not take too big a jump. You can take a bit of a jump in volume, well, a step in volume, but not a jump in volume. But if you're coming from a high volume background, then perhaps you feel that, well, actually this is just way less than I've been training, and I probably won't get as fit if I do less than I've done before. So, and that may or may not be true, but in many cases it is true. So you might choose to do more of the higher volume end of the spectrum for these adjustable duration workouts. But do keep in mind that you should not take a decision ahead of the plan that, okay, I'm always going to do the short version, or I'm always going to do the long version, or I'm always sticking to exactly what the plan says, the nominal version in the middle somewhere. But actually, you should adjust this on a case-by-case basis, based on how you feel, based on how you have been doing through the plan, and based on what you have coming up, and so on, making sure that you can execute all the harder workouts hard enough so that you don't do too much to get yourself fatigued for that, and making sure you can be consistent above all. But also, of course, making sure you get enough of a stimulus. And if you have the time and you feel that, well, I can actually handle this plan pretty well, then yeah, doing a bit more work will give you a stronger stimulus and probably make you a better athlete. So there are pros and cons to adding or removing time, but basically this is where you again need to put on your self-coaching hat and the plan will guide you, but you should decide, and you should feel empowered to decide within that adjustable duration range where you should do the workout. So keep that in mind. Also, just one final word of warning: more is not always better. So keep that in mind as well. And another thing to discuss here is to not be a slave to the numbers. But again, as we discussed, following the intent of the workout. We discussed session RPE. This workout was an example of that. Session RPE for the ride should be 4 out of 10. And if that means that, well, this workout has a very large range of, but perhaps going back to the interval ride we discussed here, where the work intervals are prescribed to under 5 to 110% FTP, and your session RPE should be 8 to 9 out of 10. But if you find that actually it's a bit too easy, then yes, you should adjust up. You should feel empowered to adjust the power up to achieve this session RPE. So you're not just using power, even though power is in the structure workouts here. You're using RPE, you're using heart rate as well. On the run, of course, you're using pace. On the swim, you're using pace. And on the swim, you might be using heart rate. Always using RPE and using the expected RPE. What do you expect to feel in a VO2 max workout? What do you expect to feel in an easy run? And so on. So use many inputs, but don't be a slave to any numbers. Rather, just focus again on the intent and see those numbers as guidelines. And also don't let erg mode or exporting workouts to Garmin be like trap you in like very rigid thinking around workouts and not executing intent. For example, if you do a bike workout outdoors and you export it to your Garmin and you are doing some sweet spot intervals and you need to do a 20-minute sweet spot interval, and then suddenly your Garmin beeps and says, okay, now start pedaling at 270 watts, but you're at the start of a downhill that will take you 6-7 minutes to get down, then that's not great because you're not going to be able to do that going downhill. So you need to have the wherewithal there to adjust the workout for the terrain and start that interval later when you get to a stretch of flat road or uphill where you can do that properly. So don't be a slave to starting and stopping intervals and so on exactly on the particular time, just like you shouldn't be a slave to exactly a given power or pace number, but again, have that intent of the workout in mind. If you're using the erg mode on the indoor trainer, then it will put you in the middle of a range of the range of the structure workout. So in this case, it would put you at 65%, which is in the middle of 55 to 75%. But you should have the wherewithal there to know that, okay, actually today I'm feeling very tired, so it would be beneficial for me to go at the low end of the range. So I'm going to do this at 55% today. Whereas on the other day, you might be off work, or it might be a weekend, or whatever it is. You slept really well, you feel great. You say, okay, I'm going to do this at 75% because I actually feel like power is coming really easy to me today. So why not do it? And yes, why not? You should do that. And again, adjust for the day, adjust for how you feel. But erg mode can sometimes make us lazy and not think and feel, and that's what you need to not let it get to you in that way. The same with exporting workouts to Garmin. And finally, final piece of advice here around keys to executing this program is done is better than perfect. If you have a 1 hour run plan, but you only have half an hour because work dragged on or whatever it is, do half an hour of running. It's better than no running. So done is better than perfect. And the same goes for how you execute workouts. So many things can come up. I don't really think of an example right now, but there are cases where maybe you won't be able to do the entire workout. It might be due to terrain or traffic on the bike, but you might be able to do some of it. Just because you can't do all of it doesn't mean that it's not beneficial to do at least some of it, some of the main set. So keep that in mind as well as a key principle, a key mindset, that done is better than perfect. Now, a few practical things that I want to say as well. First of all, always watch the weekly videos and read all the instructions, both the weekly information that you can see here and the information for the actual workouts that you see in the workout description and the pre-activity comments. Read all of that, watch all of that carefully, because that will help you understand the intent, understand the objectives of both workouts and weeks and training blocks as a whole. Next, I recommend that perhaps Sunday, you sit down and look at the week ahead and schedule all of your workouts on your calendar. Make appointments with yourself. This is when I'm going to do those workouts, and then you'll get it done, because what's scheduled gets done, or at least is much more likely to get done than what's not scheduled. Also, make sure you look through the workouts so you understand what they mean and what you're supposed to do. Because then if you do that and there's something that is not clear, then feel free to email us at support@scientifictriathlon.com and we will get back to you. But if you do that 10 minutes before getting on the bike, there's no chance that you will be able to get a response in time, unfortunately. So that's something that you should do in advance. And other things as well, in terms of just understanding, okay, which are the hardest workouts of the week? These are the ones I need to be quite fresh for, so I should make sure that I don't go too hard on the day before. Understanding the rhythm, the intent of the week, this will help you execute all of the workouts. And so you should look at that in advance, not just on a workout-to-workout basis, because then surprises will pop up on you. So Sunday planning, or whatever day it is, Saturday planning, Friday planning, do that. Next practical tip is to keep your zones and thresholds up to date when doing the time trials. So we'll do time trials in week 3 and to set thresholds and training zones, and then we'll repeat them again in week 12. And you probably have an idea of what your thresholds are already, since it's an advanced plan. So you can set them in your Training Peaks settings, which you have somewhere here, I believe. And those thresholds are what determines what you see here in the structured workouts, because these are just, on my end, percentages. And then if you say that your threshold is 200 watts, but it is actually 300 watts, then you will see just garbage here in the workout details. It will show you something that's way too low. So you need to keep track of that. And then, of course, after each time trial, I have instructions for what percentage to use and so on. So here you can see, after this actual time trial information, there is a lot of instructions here on how to find your power and heart rate zones and set them and in Training Peaks. So do that after all of the time trials. But also feel free, if you feel that, okay, actually I feel that I'm definitely 10 watts stronger than I was when I tested a month ago. You can take the executive decision, again, being the CEO of your own athletic progress, to just set manually your training, your threshold, your bike threshold to 10 watts higher than it was, and your zones accordingly. Because, when we are advanced athletes here, so we learn to feel these things, and that is okay. you don't need to do time trial to set your training zones. It's all about, again, coming back to the intent of the training. If you feel that you're riding at what according to your training zones is your zone 2 power, but you feel that, oh, this is actually like active recovery, this is zone 1, then yeah, you're not necessarily getting the most out of those endurance rides. So then it makes sense to do a little bit of an update like that. And let me turn my page of notes here. So yeah, just a couple more things, how and when to adjust the training plan. So when adjusting the plan for example, work, travel, or family obligations, or just other things that come up and you need to change things, or maybe you get ill and things like that. These are things I want to discuss here. So first, if you're just swapping things around for scheduling reasons, then try, done is better than perfect, first of all. So as long as you get everything done in a week and you're not feeling that it negatively impacts you, you don't accumulate too much fatigue, then that is perfect. Then you don't need to worry too much about the order of things or exactly how you should move things around. But if you want some general tips for, like, if you have the option to do things just as you like it with your adjustments, then the key tips I would give you is to keep the rhythm of easy and hard days and easy and hard workouts, and also keep the rhythm of disciplines. So here, for example, in week 4, we can see that we're running on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday. We have a double run. But let's say that you cannot run on Sunday, you actually need a rest day on Sunday. Where should you place these runs if you want to move them, you don't want to skip them? Well, you probably shouldn't place them necessarily on Monday and Thursday, because then you will be running 4 days straight. Actually, you'll be running 5 days straight because you run on the previous Sunday as well. So rather, maybe you place the Sunday run on Friday, and the first Sunday run, and the second Sunday run you can place on maybe you place both of these runs on Friday, so you still do a double run day on Friday, and then you might instead move the swim to, let's say, Thursday, and maybe you skip the optional ride, or you do the optional ride on Monday. So there you have it. You have moved things around. You are now running on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. You're keeping a rhythm of disciplines. Another thing is keeping the rhythm of hard and easy days. So usually in this plan, the rhythm is that Monday is a pretty easy day. Friday is also a relatively easy day, more often than not. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday are more hard or moderate days. So in this case, for example, Tuesday and Wednesday would be hard days, Thursday quite moderate, and Saturday quite moderate again, but long, and Sunday quite hard. So you want to, if possible, try to keep that rhythm, and when moving things around, making sure that you get those easy days. And for example, since we're often having double workout days, what you don't want to end up happening is that every single day ends up becoming either moderate or hard, because then you never have that natural space to recover. So if you move things around in a way that you get rid of your easy days on the Monday and Friday usually, but it might differ in some weeks, then yeah, that's not ideal. But again, done is better than perfect. So you can get away with it for 1 week, and then if you get back to the normal scheduled plan for next week, then that's not a big problem either. And one other thing is that don't let training stack up too much. So don't backload it too much, like getting all of the like moving. If you miss something early on in the week, miss a couple of workouts, and then you move both of those things to later on in the workout, what ends up happening is that you get quite a chunky, let's say, Thursday to Sunday if you move one workout from Monday to Thursday and one workout from Tuesday to Saturday. And that can just be a bit too much from an acute sense. So it is good advice generally to don't let training stack up too much, and generally I agree with it. That being said, again, you are an advanced athlete here using this plan. So if you feel you can do it without negatively impacting your consistency and your ability to execute the intent of all of your workouts, then I'm not going to stop you from doing that, certainly. And it can be a good idea because, again, you're getting things done, we shouldn't underestimate our ability to do a lot of training, especially as you go through this plan. You will get stronger and fitter, and there's a lot of training that you can do and still be standing and being able to do more training. So especially as you get through this, that will be even more like a possibility. A couple of other things. If you are feeling very fatigued, then I recommend following the 20-minute rule. So rather than just saying outright, okay, I'm not going to do this workout today. In some cases, if you're extremely fatigued, yes, it makes sense to do that, and you will probably know when that is the case. But if you're a bit in the sort of you don't quite know, then start the workout, decide to do 20 minutes, including a little bit of the main set if you're having some sort of intervals or hard work. So you might feel that, okay, you shorten the warm up a bit so you can do a couple of minutes of the first 3-minuter, and then you take a little bit of a break, and maybe you do the last minute of the 3-minuter just to break it up into 2 for the first one. And you might find that, okay, the first 2 minutes of the 3-minuter was quite hard, but then actually when you came back and you did the final minute, you felt, okay, I'm starting to feel more like my normal self again. You can get on that within 20 minutes. You can get on that sort of trajectory where you're starting to feel better, and then that can be a sign for you to, okay, just try to go through with the workout and see how it goes, and you do that. But you might also feel that you're feeling as bad or as shit or even worse in that second bout than you did in the first, and then that's probably a sign that if you feel that you can do some training but that intensity just isn't for you for today, then just do a normal easy endurance workout. But in some cases, if you feel really, really, really crappy, then of course it makes sense to just shut it down, take the rest day. And if you do that for one workout on a day and you have a second workout scheduled later on, don't do the second workout. If you feel so crappy that you need to skip a workout, then you skip the second workout on the day as well, and you make it a complete rest day. That is a good rule, I think, to follow. If you get ill or for any other reason, like you might maybe traveling or something, and you miss a lot of training, here are some, especially if you're ill, if you're traveling, you can, and it's less than 7 days, you can definitely just jump back into training where you should have been. But traveling, working, whatever, but not getting ill. But if you're ill and you miss less than 7 days, then when coming back to training, I would say, or you're having a niggle that prevents you, but usually in triathlon that's not a problem because you can still swim and bike or do one of them at least. But let's just keep it to illness for here. If you miss less than 7 days for illness, then take 2 days easy and then jump back in right where you should be in that plan right now. If you miss more than 7 days but less than 14 days, and then or if you miss between 8 and 14 days, I should say, then take a third of the days you missed as easy days. So for example, 8 or 9, you would take 3 easy days. 12 days missed, you would take 4 easy days. And then after those easy days, jump back in where you should be. But if you missed more than 14 days of training, then you probably shouldn't jump back in where you would be now, but you should jump back in where you left off after taking an adequate amount of easy days. And yeah, this is where it might get so long that it's quite difficult, but you can do it. And just miss a couple of weeks later on in the plan to make up for it. All right, this is about it. I just want to emphasize that you can email support@scientifictriathlon.com if anything is unclear about the plan and you need some help with interpreting anything or things of that nature. And make sure that you watch the weekly videos. There will be lots more information in them, and they should be really helpful, so tune in for that. And other than that, just good luck. I hope you enjoy going through this plan and that you will see great results from it in terms of fitness and performance improvements. And I have no doubt that you will see those results if you follow the plan, but also follow your own executive decision making as we discussed in this video, and take charge as CEO of your own athletic progress. Good luck, and I'll talk to you in the first weekly video.